Everett George Kilpert was a mechanics helper at the lead zinc mine at Pine Point. After questioning him about his sexuality, it was found that he had many male partners. He was charged with gross indecency under Section 149 of the Criminal Code. He was later found guilty under the territorial court because he was known as a dangerous sexual offender and faced the prospect of spending the rest of his life in jail. A member of parliament from Northwest Territories named Bud Orange stood up for Kilpert. It later became clear Kilpert was not a dangerous sexual offender. His sexual activities were not predatory and his partners were always consenting adults. After debating using Kilpert's case, the criminal code was finally changed in 1969. Even after the changes, he was not released until 1971.
In 1967, Justice Minister Pierre Trudeau proposes changes to the criminal code which, among other things, would relax the laws against homosexuality. Discussing the amendments, Trudeau says, "I think what's done in private between adults doesn't concern the criminal code. When it becomes public, this is a different matter, or when it relates to minors, this is a different matter."
1969. Trudeau's changes passed into the criminal code, decriminalizing homosexuality in Canada. 1978. Canada gets a new Immigration Act. Under the Act, homosexuals are removed from the list of inadmissible classes.
Analogous grounds were established in 1989 due to the fact that sexual orientation and sexual preference were not embedded yet into the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Analogous grounds were created because it is extremely hard to make changes to the Charter of Rights and Freedoms in that it was entrenched in 1982. Although sexual orientation and sexual preference are not stated in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, it should be read into.
In 1992, the federal court lifts the country's ban on homosexuals in the military, allowing gays and lesbians to serve in the armed forces. 1996. The federal government passes Bill C-33, which adds sexual orientation to the Canadian Human Rights Act. 1999. The Supreme Court of Canada rules same-sex couples should have the same benefits and obligations as opposite-sex common law couples, and equal access to benefits from social programs to which they contribute. July 12, 2002. For the first time, a Canadian court rules in favor of recognizing same-sex marriages under the law. The Ontario Supreme Court rules that prohibiting gay couples from marrying is unconstitutional and violates the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. The court gives Ontario 2 years to extend marriage rights to same-sex couples.
In 2005, Bill C-38 was enacted in order to give the same-sex couples the legal right to marry.
Jane Doe was in a lesbian relationship where she was denied the rights to a homosexual donor. Her partner had a child with a homosexual man through alternative insemination at home. Doe adopted the child and wishes to have her own. She wanted the sperm of the homosexual man because she wants the kids to be biologically related. Doe had fertility problems, so the services of a fertility clinic was necessary. But the clinic refused to let the homosexual man be the sperm donor because the clinic believed homosexual men may provide a HIV or hepatitis C contaminated sperm. Doe brought an action against the Attorney General of Canada in the Ontario Superior Court of Justice, saying it violated her rights under Section 7 and 15. After thoroughly examining the case, Jane Doe was granted the right to have a homosexual sperm donor.
As one can see, the laws have been modified due to the fact that society is constantly changing, and the LGBTQ community would be an example because being gay or lesbian before was considered a crime, but now the laws have been changed to ensure the safety of those individuals.
Created using Powtoon.